So thanks for joining Eat, Sleep, Business with Plus 24, a business podcast from Dave and Sam, infamous from shows such as the Friday Fizz, which is where I'm sure a lot of our listeners or viewers will be coming from. First go at doing a podcast this for us, Sam, which is a little bit wrong, isn't it?
It's been one of those. It's been on the list for years, to be fair.
Yeah.
I think when that Anchor came out 5 years ago, we had a go, didn't we? But just never really committed. And we've been meaning to get back to it ever since.
Yeah, so, but we are here, we are committed, and we are going to be doing this weekly. I think one of the reasons why I wanted to put this podcast out is I feel like we've got some value to add beyond just supporting our clients and our community. Perhaps we can, help one or two people, and if it does just help one person, then it's been absolutely worth our time. So I'm really keen to try and get some real business value, business and marketing, obviously. But yeah, so maybe for those, hopefully some of the people listening to this know us already. But maybe we should just give a bit of a background about us and our journey, particularly in recent times, I suppose. So Plus 24 obviously founded as a digital marketing agency in 2010, so our 10th birthday this year. Lots of roller coaster rides along the way, the ups and the downs, the huge successes, and then the near failures, the scraping the barrel for cash during those times of growth and things. But into some more sort of steady ride in the last few years, with really solid growth, doubled in size in the last 12 months. 12 to 18 months at least. We've been working together for 5 years, maybe more now. How long?
This is the 6th year, yeah. Coming up.
Yeah, so amazing. Obviously built a strong relationship, and you're now a shareholder of the business. So yeah, we've been we've kind of grown to that point where we've probably got a fair bit of value to add. Decent sized business, moving on for 20 staff. I suspect we'll hit 20 staff this year. We're £1 million business now, which is exciting to reach that, those sort of milestones. It took way longer, by the way, than I ever thought it would to get to this point. Starting out in business as a real youngster, 24 years old, starting up in business, thinking that by 28 I was going to be a multimillionaire. It was, so a lot of lessons learnt along the way. And I've aged about 50 years and put about 5 stone on since. So
they always say the first one's the hardest, though, don't they? So they'll come rolling in now.
Yeah, maybe.
Easy. Downhill from here.
I think that's the thing, though, isn't it? When you've got momentum in business, it's really important to capitalize on that. And it's interesting. We're in interesting times at the minute, but I don't see the current situation needing to slow down our momentum in particular. I think we're agile enough and adaptable that we should be able to generate the opportunities from it. So I suppose that leads us quite nicely. What's your feeling on how the business community out there? Obviously, we do an awful lot of stalking of businesses. We see opinions. We talk to people. We talk to not just our clients, but associates, friends in business, and obviously monitor things on LinkedIn. What's the feeling out there? What's your gut feeling?
I think it's really starting to shift now. The last week or two, definitely. It's shifting. There was a lot of panic. I think we've talked about it on Fizz and a couple of other things recently, but a lot of kind of panic initially and uncertainty, obviously, which was understandable. But yeah, the last couple of weeks, I think people have really started to get a plan together of how they're going to move forward. But I think there is still that split between the ones that have got a plan of how they're going to adapt their businesses now and how the businesses are going to significantly change, and those that are just clinging on, hoping that it's going to get back to normal soon. And you can still see that on LinkedIn and things like that. You can see the ones that are just blindly optimistic. And I think that's the main concern for me, really.
Yeah, I'd probably echo that. I think there's a lot of optimism out there, and there's a lot of really quality business leaders out there who have genuinely made major changes to their business to, to deal with the current situation and made those decisions early. And that sort of generates optimism in the market. But I agree in the sense that you can't just be optimistic and positive about the outcome. You've got to actually get down and get your hands dirty and do something about it. And I think there's an awful lot of people riding the wave of optimism and saying, "Oh yeah, great! It's great to see so many people, looking forward and start turning things around and and drive business forward." And that's great, but it needs to be followed by action. You can't just be riding on that wave, hoping that means that for your business it's going to get back to some form of normality, or you're going to suddenly be inundated with leads as people come out the other side of this. The only way you'll come out the side of this is actually by making change, because as we know and as everybody's reporting, there will be a new normal, and that's going to be somewhere between where we were with full lockdown and before the pandemic hit. So yeah, so I mean, there's examples out there, and there's a lot of people trying to generate positivity, and I'm a big believer in motivational stuff. The problem with motivational stuff is that it tends to be quite short-lived. You get really excited for 10 minutes, an hour after you've read some positive news, and then you slip back into the daily monotony of just getting on with what you do. And I think it would be a massive mistake to just be positive and not take action. Yeah, I suppose I covered some of that in the East Lancs talk.
Exactly, yeah. And I think what you were talking about there was getting that plan together of how you do actually move forward, what your business is actually going to look like. And I think that's one key thing to take from that. Motivation is brilliant, and everyone obviously needs that motivation and needs to be feeding that positivity into their lives. But I think it's using it, and once you've kind of built yourself up and you've got yourself hyped up with that motivation, using that to plan for how your business is going to change. Not just like using that to kind of keep yourself going as you are now. It's looking at how you're actually going to change and adapt to this.
Yeah, and I think you've just hit the nail on the head by saying, the plan. I'd love to ask a lot of these people on LinkedIn saying, "Oh, you can feel the shift, you can feel business change." I'd love to ask them, right, what does your business look like in 2 months' time? And if you can't specifically identify what your business looks like, what actions you've got to take in order to get there, then I'm sorry, but you're not ready for this. And I think what I'd like to achieve from this podcast is a bit of realism as well. I don't want to fall into this trap of just being another motivational style podcast. Yes, we love optimism. Yes, we're positive always. We're always looking towards a bright future. It's who we are. It's intrinsically buried within us to be positive people, and that's got us through a lot of shit. However, we've also been doers. And one of the reasons why we've not done a podcast over the years is because we're busy fucking doing it. The reality is that we are delivering, genuine value to our customers. And that's why we haven't been quite as on it with things like this. So I want people to just open their eyes and ask themselves, am I ready for this? Have I got a sales plan? Have I got a marketing plan? Am I talking on social networks enough? Am I networking as much as I could be? All of these questions. What does my business look like? Will I be able to deliver the service or product that I delivered 3 months ago in 2 months' time? Realistically, is the demand for your business the same, or is it going to change? Am I hitting all of the markets that I could be? Do I need to go into new markets? New sectors and things like that. So I think there's whilst it's great that the business environment and community is getting positive and more optimistic, and I'm a firm one on. I'm riding that wave, but alongside action, and that's the key. I'd love to ask people, and let's get some feedback. If you're listening to this and you're not sure about what your plans are, or if you're listening to this and you absolutely have it nailed and you know exactly what you're going to do, feedback to us. Whatever platform you're on, just get in touch with us. We're on all the social networks. Just fire us a comment and let us know where you're at in business. And maybe if you're not quite where you want to be, or if you are exactly where you want to be, maybe you can throw some comments to discuss in the next podcast, and we'll do some live examples of that. So that's kind of an overview, I think, of where people are currently at. What about us then? Let's have a chat about the kind of things that we've changed, to give people examples. I suppose the first thing to note is that we were really sharp off the mark on this, and we locked down our office way before it was even an obligation to close down your offices if you could work from home. We made that decision early. We were up and running when people were having to move the Macs to the home environment and stuff like that. So I think we identified the issues early. And then I think the second thing that we've also made an early decision on is that we are going to close our office until 2021. And there's a couple of factors for that. We all love working together. We all want to. However, there's an awful lot of logistics that you've got to think about if you're going to work together. That means we've just eradicated any need to spend any time between now and whenever to think about logistics, the signage we've got to put in place, the facilities, the extra, washing facilities, etc., etc. We don't have to worry about that. We can just get on with doing business. So whilst everybody else is thinking, oh, when can I go back to work? How do we go back to work? We just get on with it. And so I think making those decisions, yes, it's disappointing not to be able to work with my colleagues on site. And I know that we all feel this a little bit, Sam, but it's taken a major weight off our shoulders to have to do that. And I think other businesses should also, I'm not saying make the same decision, but make easy decisions quickly.
And sometimes it is that it's, there might be a way of us doing it, and it might not be that painful to kind of get back to the office. But the fact is that it's such a busy time. There's so much other stuff to do. There's only limited amount of headspace to try and work out a solution for that. Like you say, would just be unnecessary kind of stress and pressure. So that's just one thing off your plate. That means that you can move on and action something else. So there's so much going on right now. If there is an easy decision you can make that gets it off your plate, then why wouldn't you?
Yeah, I agree. So I guess making early decisions and sort of accepting certain scenarios was something that we made action on. Also exploring which elements of our service is going to be needed the most. We did that pretty early. Particularly on the marketing side, but then on the software side as well, almost coming out of this.
Yeah, and I think priming the team for that. There's been some services that have shifted quite drastically, and the demand for those services has shifted quite drastically. Obviously, some scaled down, some scaled up. New clients coming in, the teams had to be prepared to change quite quickly. And I think we did try and prime them early, I guess, to make sure they were ready for that, for new stuff coming in and those pretty drastic changes. And I think that's helped us now, a couple of months down the line, get to a point where things do feel like they're running pretty much as normal just from home.
Yeah, I agree. I'd say, we probably lose maybe 5% in happiness from our team because we do want to work from that environment, but actually I don't think we lose any productivity and the things that we're trying to do to keep our team happy and motivated and working as a team, with our weekly socials, some of which have been featured on the BBC. We might need to add there. So we've put some real effort into making sure that our team's well-being is high priority. And obviously now with the decisions to keep the office closed, we'll need to put some new things in place. We need to make sure that everybody's got a good working environment, etc. So I think the shift in marketing, we took the opportunity for the people who's were less required, I suppose, that we've upskilled them, put them on extensive training programs. so they can help in other areas of the business which are seeing a higher demand. So, in actual fact, we had a record break in April, and that for me, and we're going to have a solid May. Won't quite be record breaking, which is disappointing, I suppose. But to have a record break in April in one of the toughest financial climates that we've ever experienced, and I think most businesses have ever experienced, is a real credit to the team and to the decisions that we made early on, I suppose.
Mm.
So what next for businesses then? What, if we're going to try and give some value, we ought to discuss how other businesses can benefit from this situation.
Yeah, I think next week we're going to do kind of a big feature on some of the more in-depth marketing tactics that you can apply. So we're going to look at how individual businesses can adjust their marketing and obviously see some benefits out of the opportunities. I mean, PPC costs are dropping through the floor. Yeah. Still they're still massively down on where they were a couple of months ago. So there's massive opportunities there. But we'll go through a few different ones next week. I think really over this next week for anyone that's kind of listening to this, it is just trying to get that plan together, isn't it? Of what your business looks like in the next couple of months. Is your business going to be able to keep delivering what it's always delivered, or are you going to need to shift that? And I think the first thing for most people to think about is just what that short-term plan looks like to make sure your business is adapting.
Yeah, I think so. I think, the one key thing for me would be a one-page plan. I don't necessarily believe in massive business plans unless you're having to apply for some sort of finance. But having a one-pager of, right, okay, these are the actions I'm going to take. This is the business in 2 months' time and what it looks like. These are what the new customers look like, etc. And I think it's really important to have that written down and documented, for yourself and if you employ people for your team, to really understand the, where you're going and what the shifts and changes will be. So yeah, I'd urge that. That would be the one key thing for me. Even if you're optimistic about the outcome, just take a step back and just ask yourself, am I positive or am I optimistic? Because they're two very different things. Positive is suggesting everything's going to be fine without having necessarily actions and a plan to follow it up. Optimistic is accepting that times are going to be difficult, but you're confident of a positive outcome. So I think there's a real, it's important that people understand that. Don't just become a positive person that's riding the wave from other people's positivity. Make sure you're optimistic and you take a step back. Have you got a plan? Do you know what your business looks like? And you've got to make as good a guess as you possibly can as to what you can do. Hopefully over coming weeks we'll add some more real value in terms of what marketing decisions you can make, business opportunities that are out there. I think that's probably a decent start for our first podcast. Yeah, a bit of an introduction. Yeah, you into where we're at right now, and then hopefully over the next few weeks we can kind of deliver some more of that real value that people can take away and apply to their businesses. Yeah, and I'm really hoping to get some feedback as well, get some questions in. I'd really love for people to send in what their business challenges are, because I would absolutely guarantee that we've got some value to add to almost every situation that's put out there. So, get in touch with us on social media, and we'll do our best to answer any questions and include any comments that are put forward in next week's podcast. But I'm excited about this. This is cool. I'm excited to put something out there that's value orientated rather than humor orientated. So, we'll try and get a little bit of humor in, but perhaps more business. Yes. Try and give some value for people to actually apply for once. Absolutely. All right. Been good to catch up, Sam. So I will catch you next week for I'll see you before then, but we'll catch up for our podcast next week and look forward to seeing what people say. Nice one. See you next week. Cheers. Bye.